Hey there, creepy peeps, and welcome to another new horror movie review. Today we're going to be talking about Winchester. Before I get into anything else, I want to say a quick thank you to my creepy patron peeps. Thank you so much for your support of my channel. If you want to find out the perks to being a creepy patron peep, you can follow that link in the description box and it'll tell you all you need to know. Also, really quick before I get started in anything, I also want to mention something that all of us horror tubers are kind of planning to do. I think I mentioned this very briefly before. We're planning a pub crawl style stream to help out a lot of smaller channels that need to get this will mostly help our watch time, I feel like, but it can also help to get the smaller channels up over that 1,000 subscriber minimum, or closer to it at least, by introducing people to new channels. This is going to be happening on the 17th for sure. I'm pretty sure that's solidified date now. It'll be taking place starting on the 17th, mostly for everybody in the evening time, depending on where you are, into the 18th of February. So it's gonna be like every channel that's involved is gonna have an hour stream. And so, you know, ideally what it's gonna be like is a pub crawl. So everyone's gonna start off on the first person stream, and then we're gonna move to the next stream each hour, and it'll get that watch time up, because apparently, which I didn't know this, streaming contributes to your watch time. So, you know, if you get like 20 people watching your channel for an hour, that's 20 hours added to your watch time. So it's a nice boost in watch time. And this was all Gory B Movies' brilliant idea. So definitely stay tuned to Horror Addict's channel and to their social media, because I'm sure she's gonna be posting more info about it as she solidifies details and stuff. I know she's already posted about it once on Twitter, but just stay tuned. If you're not following them, make sure you are, so you can get the most up-to-date information the quickest, because she's pretty much in charge of all this. She's amazing. All right, so inspired by true events, Winchester Winchester is about the famous haunted mansion in San Jose, California, which was built by the heiress to the Winchester repeating rifle fortune. During the time when Sarah Winchester was alive and living in the house, the house stood at most 7 stories tall and was under constant construction. In the movie, this stems from Sarah's guilt over all of the people that have been killed because of the Winchester repeating rifle. Her colleagues at the Winchester Company recruit the help of Dr. Eric Price to just assess the mental stability of Sarah Winchester. So he goes and stays at the house for some time. While there, a malevolent spirit makes his presence known, and Dr. Price has to come to terms with the fact that maybe there are supernatural things beyond his own very logical reasoning, and he has to help Sarah and her family reconcile with the ghost and make peace with his untimely and violent end. All right, so first and foremost, I did like the play on this true story of this house, considering how often and how loosely the term inspired by true events is often used, especially in horror movies. This one is actually pretty close to the true story. I feel like they really just dramatized the actual story of this house and of Sarah Winchester. So in terms of that, I think it was pretty well done. Obviously, it's not entirely accurate, but if you were to go look up the actual story and the facts behind this house, I think you would be satisfied at how accurate the movie was being. Anyways, I really did like the creepy atmosphere of the house. I liked the way that the house like was set up and looked. Everything was very like dark and closed off and very maze-like, obviously, because this is a very odd house. There are windows looking out into other rooms, staircases that lead to nowhere, doors that open up into just like open space or into a wall, crazy things like that. Obviously there's lots of maze-like hallways going all over, so everything is very kind of closed off and dark within the house, which is in stark contrast to any exterior shots, with the exception of one scene that takes place at night. But even then, it is very well lit outside because the house was under constant construction. So you have the workers working outside even when everybody else is sleeping. So even that scene was actually fairly well lit, but all the other exterior shots of the house are taken during the daytime and everything looks bright and sunny and very much like it's in California, as opposed to the house, which is very dark and maze-like. I liked that contrast. It really helped set the mood too whenever we were in the house for a long period of time without any exterior shots. You felt very, you know, lost and caught up within the maze yourself. And it is very disorienting because the house is so maze-like. It's hard to kind of get your bearings where they are in the actual house. Like if you were looking on the outside, it's hard to like pinpoint like, oh, they're in this room right now, they're over on this side of the house. It's hard to figure your way around, which I think for this movie works well. I also really liked our protagonist, which was Eric Price, played by Jason Clarke. I really liked his character arc. He was very well developed, even though I'll get into something about that in the dislike section. He was well developed, and he was a good character to relate to. So he's obviously very logical, and he, you know, has one of those, you know, moments where he says something in the movie to the effect like, I don't believe in anything I can't see or touch or study or whatever, you know, one of those types. So he's kind of with the audience in that sense where we're not sure, like, you know, and obviously they set up like, well, Sarah might be crazy. That's why he's going there to assess if she's crazy or not. So he has to grapple with his own beliefs of the supernatural and the afterlife and ghosts and spirits and things like that. Just like the audience has to grapple with the fact that, you know, this is real. This is really happening. This is what's going on in this house. Flip side of that, I feel like a lot of Dr. Price's development came in a rush at the very end. And I think it was just because he was a pretty complicated character, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I liked his character, definitely way better than being a flat character that I didn't care about. He just had a lot going on. He had a lot in his past that he was dealing with throughout the movie. And then of course, the whole thing going on in the present day of the movie where he is trying to, you know, grapple with his own beliefs being flipped over and turned on its head, like, oh my gosh, there are ghosts and things like that. But I feel like a lot of his development came in a rush at the end, and it felt less like a well thought out character arc and more like, oh crap, we're at the end of this movie and we need to cover up all these loose ends, otherwise people will be mad, which I appreciate, but I just think like, I just feel like it would have been better if it was more spaced out or throughout the movie. It was pretty predictable with the jump scares. It is just full of those awful jump scares that we all hate, where it's just a loud noise and something immediately popping up in the screen, which is kind of a cheap way to get scares, because obviously if it's quiet and all of a sudden there's a loud banging noise, or all of a sudden the music shoots up in volume, of course you're gonna be startled and you're gonna jump. So it's a very cheap way to get scares. I don't think that makes a movie scary. Definitely utilize the rule of three a lot in this movie, and they don't necessarily play around with it. They pretty much follow it to a T. So if you see anything happening twice, get ready for it to happen a third time, and then you know when the scare is coming. And there was the ending. The ending was just it was just like really hokey and cheesy in a bad way. So I don't know if any of you out there watch the show A Haunting. I'm not even really sure what channel it comes on. One of those like hour long, it takes like, you know, they do like the dramatization of somebody's story when they moved into this house and they were haunted by a malevolent spirit. Those types of shows. So you know how though they end and it's always like they either defeat the spirit or and they're able to live happily in the house, or they're finally able to move out of the house, and it always has a very kind of like overly happy ending, very cheesy. There's like dramatic music, like, do you know what I mean? Does everyone know what I'm talking about? That's basically how the end of this movie is, and it's super cheesy. Yeah, I didn't like it. And there was a very, what I thought was an unnecessary cliffhanger at the end. So without giving away specifically what happens, obviously the movie, I've already spoiled, the movie has a happy ending. Very cheesy. But of course they feel the need to end it really quick, right at the end of the happy thing, with something scary to remind you like, hey, just because this event is over does not mean this house is not haunted anymore. Which I just felt was unnecessary, because immediately after they ended with a title card with a couple of sentences on there kind of explaining, you know, that the house still stands and that sort of thing. And it's one of the most haunted places in America or something like that. So I felt like that was enough. And, you know, enough people are gonna go look up the true story that they could probably figure that out for themselves. I don't think it was necessary for that like cheesy, stupid cliffhanger ending, like, don't forget, it's still haunted. Here's the last little scary thing. So was Winchester worth watching? Meh. I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. It was just okay. It wasn't awful. Well, I didn't think it was awful. But it wasn't great either. It wasn't groundbreaking. On IMDb, it has a 5.4 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes has it at a 9% critic score, but a 45% audience score, which for a horror movie is so-so. And on Roger Ebert, it got a 3 out of 4. I know, those ratings are all over the place. So if you've seen Winchester, let me know in the comment section down below what you thought about it. As always, you can find me on all the normal social media places. The links for those are in the description box. You can also find me on my blog at nightmaremaven.com. As a contributing writer at morbidlybeautiful.com. You can also find me on Morbidly Beautiful's YouTube channel now. I know, I'm everywhere. You can't get rid of me. You can also find me on patreon.com/nightmaremaven if you want to check that out and support the channel, this channel. I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new here and become a creepy peep today. I post videos Monday through Friday. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay strange. Bye.